the maid who danced her way into the prince's heart. Once upon a time, in a village not too far from the royal palace, there lived a young girl named Zuri. Zuri was sweet, humble, and known for her unusual talent. She could turn any task into a mini dance. Sweeping. She'd spin with the broom. Cooking. She'd tap her feet as she stirred. And though she never planned to leave her village, fate had other ideas. One day, Zuri was offered a job in the royal palace as a maid. She was excited but nervous. After all, she'd never seen such a grand place in her life. On her first day, she arrived wide-eyed, taking in the towering walls, the sparkling chandeliers, and the royal guards who looked like they'd never smiled in their lives. As the head maid marched her through the corridors, Zuri did her best to keep up, nodding to every instruction. But as soon as she was left alone to clean the grand dining hall, nerves got the better of her. While carrying a tall stack of dishes to the kitchen, she slipped on the polished floor, sending plates crashing everywhere. The sound echoed through the entire palace. A loud, indignant voice came from the corner. "Zuri!" The head maid was back, hands on her hips, looking like she was ready to explode. "You will never survive here with all that clumsiness," she scolded, wagging her finger like an angry teacher. Poor Zuri blushed and mumbled apologies, hurrying to pick up the broken pieces. Once the head maid had left, Zuri sat on the floor, feeling a mix of embarrassment and regret. She missed her village already. But then, in a small attempt to cheer herself up, she began to hum one of her grandmother's old songs, a lively tune from back home. Without even thinking about it, Zuri's hum turned into a little dance. Her arms moved rhythmically, her hips swayed, and before she knew it, she was shimmying her way around the dining hall. Her unique dance blended bits of the village's traditional moves with her own little quirks, a funny twist, a twirl, and a hop that looked almost ridiculous but felt right to her. What she didn't realize was that someone was watching her. The prince himself had been passing by, and the unusual rhythm coming from the dining hall had caught his attention. Intrigued, he peeked inside and saw Zuri, completely absorbed in her dance. He watched, captivated by her carefree spirit and the joy in her movements. She danced like no one was watching, because she had no idea anyone was. But then, she turned and saw him. She froze mid-spin, her eyes wide with shock. Her face turned red as she quickly tried to explain, "Why, Your Highness, I didn't realize, she stammered, searching for words but finding none that could explain her dancing in the middle of the royal dining hall. The prince, however, was smiling, amused. "No need to explain," he said, his eyes twinkling. "That was the most unique dancing I've ever seen in the palace. Would you mind showing me again?" Zuri blinked, certain she'd heard wrong. The prince wanted to see her dance. She was so flustered she nearly dropped another plate. But she could tell he was serious, so, with her face still flushed, she gave a quick nod. She showed him her quirky shimmy, the funny little twist she'd added, her hips swaying, her feet tapping. To her surprise, the prince laughed. "I've got to try this," he said, mimicking her moves with enthusiasm. Soon, the two of them were laughing and dancing together, looking like complete fools. The guards passing by stared in shock, and the head maid watched in disbelief as her prince and the new maid twirled and spun across the dining hall, sharing an inside joke no one else understood. Days went by, and Zuri and the prince grew closer. He'd join her in the garden, and she'd teach him new dance moves, sharing stories of her village and listening to his tales of the palace. She never asked for anything more, just being his friend felt like a dream. But deep down, Zuri knew that a prince could never truly be interested in someone like her, a simple maid. It was just the way things were. One afternoon, as they sat quietly in the garden, Zuri finally found the courage to voice her doubts. "Your Highness, I know this can't last forever. I'm just a maid. You're a prince. It's only a matter of time before you're expected to, she trailed off, not wanting to finish the sentence. The prince looked at her, his expression gentle but firm. Zuri, he said softly, I've met all kinds of people here, people with titles and fancy clothes. But I have never met anyone like you. Your kindness, your spirit, that's what makes you special, not your position or title. He reached for her hand, and in that moment, Zuri's doubts seemed to melt away. Maybe there was a chance that a maid could dance her way into a prince's life after all. In the end, the palace wasn't just a place of rules and traditions, it became a place where a young maid's quirky dance moves and laughter could change everything, and where one prince found something far more valuable than royal decorum, a true friend, and maybe even a first love.